Noam Chomsky, a name synonymous with intellectual dissent, has long been a thorn in the side of the establishment. His relentless pursuit of truth and justice has made him a polarizing figure, admired by many and criticized by others. Born in Philadelphia in 1928, Chomsky's impact transcends his role as a linguist and philosopher. From an early age, he exhibited a keen interest in the world around him, questioning societal norms and seeking to understand the deeper mechanisms at play. He is a public intellectual, a political activist, and a relentless critic of power structures. His voice has echoed through the halls of academia and the streets of protest, challenging the status quo and advocating for a more just and equitable society. His work, spanning decades, delves into the intricacies of language, the machinations of power, and the human condition itself. Chomsky's contributions to the field of linguistics, particularly his theory of generative grammar, revolutionized our understanding of language and cognition. Chomsky's foray into the public sphere began during the tumultuous 1960s, a period marked by social upheaval and anti-war sentiment. The civil rights movement, the counterculture, and widespread opposition to the Vietnam War created a fertile ground for his ideas to take root. His outspoken opposition to the Vietnam War catapulted him into the limelight, establishing him as a leading voice of dissent. Chomsky's critiques were not limited to the war itself, but extended to the broader implications of American foreign policy and its impact on global politics. Chomsky's critiques extended beyond specific policies. He challenged the very foundations of American foreign policy, exposing its imperialistic undertones and the propaganda machinery that sustained it. His incisive analysis revealed the often hidden motives behind government actions and the media's role in perpetuating these narratives. His seminal work, Manufacturing Consent, The Political Economy of the Mass Media, co-authored with Edward S. Herman, unveiled the intricate ways in which media institutions, often portrayed as neutral arbiters of information, actively shape public opinion to align with elite interests. This groundbreaking book has become a cornerstone in media studies, offering a critical lens through which to view the information we consume daily. This groundbreaking analysis exposed the subtle yet pervasive influence of propaganda in democratic societies, challenging conventional notions of free press and objective journalism. Chomsky and Herman's work has inspired countless journalists, scholars, and activists to scrutinize the media's role in shaping public discourse. Chomsky's impact extends far beyond academia. His ideas have permeated various spheres of society, influencing political thought, social movements, and public policy debates around the world. His writings, lectures, and interviews have reached a global audience, inspiring generations of activists, scholars, and ordinary citizens to question authority and challenge the status quo. Chomsky's unwavering commitment to truth and justice continues to resonate, encouraging critical thinking and active engagement in societal issues. Masters of Mankind, a collection of essays and lectures, offers a compelling glimpse into Chomsky's incisive analysis of power, propaganda, and the human condition. Through his eloquent and thought-provoking prose, Chomsky challenges us to see the world through a more critical and informed lens, urging us to strive for a more just and equitable society. Masters of Mankind serves as a comprehensive introduction to Chomsky's multifaceted critique of power. This seminal work is not just a collection of essays and lectures, it is a profound exploration of the structures that govern our world and the forces that shape our lives. This collection of essays and lectures, spanning several decades, delves into the mechanisms by which powerful elites maintain control, manipulate public opinion, and perpetuate systems of oppression. Chomsky meticulously dissects the ways in which these elites use their influence to shape societal norms and values, often to the detriment of the general populace. Chomsky's central argument revolves around the inherent tension between the powerful and the powerless, a dynamic he believes is at the heart of human history. This tension is not just a historical artifact, but a living, breathing reality that continues to define our contemporary world. One of the book's central themes is the concept of manufacturing consent, a term that Chomsky popularized to describe the subtle yet pervasive ways in which public opinion is shaped. The process by which governments and corporations utilize media and propaganda to shape public perception and engineer consent for their agendas is both sophisticated and insidious. Through a combination of selective reporting, framing of issues, and marginalization of dissenting voices, the powerful can effectively control the narrative. Chomsky argues that this manipulation is often subtle, operating through the selective presentation of information, the framing of narratives, and the marginalization of dissenting voices. This creates an environment where the public is often unaware of the true nature of the issues at hand, leading to a distorted understanding of reality. Another key theme is Chomsky's staunch anti-imperialism. He is particularly critical of how powerful states, especially the United States, engage in imperialistic endeavors. He argues that powerful states, particularly the United States, consistently engage in imperialistic endeavors, often under the guise of humanitarian intervention or the spread of democracy. These actions, Chomsky contends, are rarely altruistic and often serve to further the interests of the elite. Chomsky meticulously documents historical and contemporary examples of American foreign policy, exposing its underlying motivations and the devastating consequences for nations targeted by these interventions. He provides a sobering analysis of how these policies have led to widespread suffering and instability. Masters of Mankind also delves into Chomsky's critique of capitalism, which he argues is inherently exploitative and predicated on the concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a select few. This critique is not just an economic analysis, but a moral one, questioning the ethical foundations of a system that perpetuates inequality. He explores the social and economic inequalities engendered by capitalist systems, highlighting the plight of the working class and the marginalized. Chomsky's analysis extends to the global stage, examining how capitalist practices affect not just individual nations but the world at large. He explores the social and economic inequalities engendered by capitalist systems, highlighting the plight of the working class and the marginalized. Through his incisive critique, Chomsky calls for a re-evaluation of the systems that govern our lives and a move towards a more just and equitable society. Chomsky's analysis of media's role in shaping public opinion is perhaps his most influential contribution to political thought. His work has sparked countless debates and discussions, challenging the very foundations of how we perceive news and information. In Masters of Mankind, this critique takes center stage, particularly in essays like Media Control, The Spectacular Achievements of Propaganda. These essays delve deep into the mechanisms of media influence, offering a comprehensive look at how propaganda shapes our worldviews. Chomsky argues that media institutions, far from being neutral observers, actively participate in the construction of reality, shaping public discourse to align with the interests of powerful elites. This assertion challenges the common perception of the media as an unbiased entity. He posits a propaganda model to explain how this manipulation occurs. This model is not just theoretical, but is backed by extensive research and examples from various media outlets. This model outlines 5 filters that influence the information disseminated by media ownership by large corporations, dependence on advertising revenue, reliance on official sources, and the pressures exerted by these entities. Flack from powerful interest groups, which can deter media from reporting on certain issues or perspectives, and the use of anti-communist ideology as a control mechanism. This last filter, though rooted in the Cold War era, still finds relevance in modern times through various forms of ideological control. Chomsky argues that these filters work in concert to limit the range of perspectives presented, marginalize dissenting voices, and manufacture consent for policies that benefit the ruling class. This concerted effort ensures that the dominant narrative remains unchallenged. He provides numerous examples of media bias, demonstrating how news coverage often reinforces official narratives, even when those narratives are demonstrably false. These examples serve as a stark reminder of the power of media in shaping public perception. This critique of media is particularly relevant in the age of digital information. With the proliferation of digital platforms, the reach and influence of media have expanded exponentially. While the internet has democratized access to information, Chomsky argues that the same forces of manipulation are at play, albeit in more sophisticated forms. The algorithms and targeted content on social media platforms can subtly shape our opinions and beliefs. He points to the rise of social media platforms, which he argues are susceptible to the same biases and filters that plague traditional media. The challenge, then, is to remain vigilant and critical of the information we consume, regardless of the medium. Chomsky's critique of media extends to his analysis of democratic systems. In Masters of Mankind, he argues that even in societies that purport to be democratic, the concentration of power in the hands of a select few undermines the very principles of democracy. He posits that the manufacture of consent is even more crucial in democratic societies, as it serves to legitimize the rule of elites and create the illusion of popular consent. Chomsky argues that elections, often touted as the cornerstone of democracy, are frequently manipulated through the control of information, the use of fear-mongering and propaganda, and the influence of money in politics. He suggests that the range of political options presented to the public is often limited, ensuring that the status quo remains largely unchallenged. He further argues that the concentration of economic power in the hands of a small elite translates into political power, allowing them to influence policy decisions in their favor. This, Chomsky contends, creates a system of inverted totalitarianism, where outward forms of democracy are maintained while the substance of democratic governance is eroded. Chomsky's analysis of democracy challenges us to look beyond superficial indicators of democratic participation and examine the underlying power structures that shape political outcomes. He urges us to recognize the limitations of existing democratic systems and to strive for more participatory and equitable forms of governance.